Hello students, myself Maitri Dave and today we are going to discuss about fire resistance. So let us start our today's lecture. But first let me give you the introduction of fire resistance. So no building material is perfectly fireproof, right? Every building contains some materials such as furniture, clothing or we can say which can either easily catch fire or which are vulnerable to fire, right? However, the endeavor of the architect and the engineer should be to plan, design, and construct the building in such a way that safety of occupants may be ensured to the maximum possible extent in the event of outbreak of fire in the building due to any reason, right? So the technical interpretation of fire safety of building is to convey the fire resistance of building in terms of hours when subjected to fire of known intensity, right? So it should have structural time interval so that adequate protection to the occupant is afforded. Here you can see the image when this kind of emergency arises. Now, a wider interpretation of fire safety may be deemed to cover the following aspects, in which first one we can say the fire prevention and reduction of number of outbreaks of fire, spread of fire both internally as well as the externally. Even the safe exit of any and all occupants in the event of an outbreak of fire. Fire extinguishing apparatus. So let me see you some causes of fire. So here the first cause is the careless discarding of the lighted ends of cigarettes, cigars, matches and the tobacco. Other way we can say the smoking in unauthorized places. Indifferent maintenance of machinery including overloading and under or over lubricating of the bearings. General indifference to the cleanliness, incorrect storage of materials, faulty workmanship and inattention to electrical installations, unapproved equipment and the layouts, inattention of persons concerned with the inspection and the patrol of premises under their jurisdiction, right? Even we can say the unattention of fire safety regulations. So these all are the different causes of the fire. Now, let us see some fire hazards. So, fire safety of building should be considered from three aspects and protection should accordingly be provided against the following three aspects of the fire hazard. So, here different types of fire hazard can be of personal hazard, right? So, we can see over here that the possibility of loss or damage of life referred to as personal hazard. The consideration of personal hazard is naturally of permanent importance and requires the provision of library design and safe fireproof exits and escapes in all buildings and particularly those having more than one story, right? So this is the first one, personal hazard. Second is the internal hazard. It means the possibility of fire occurring and spreading inside the building itself referred as the internal hazard. So internal hazard concerns damage or destruction of the building and influences directly personal hazard. So the internal hazard is directly related to the fire load which is in turn enables the building to be graded when considered along with the duration of fire. And the last one is the exposure hazard. So here possibility of fire spreading from an adjoining building or buildings or from across street or road referred as this exposure hazard. Exposure hazard deals with the risk of fire spreading into a building through the open air from fire in other building from stocks of the combustible material, right? So these are the different three types of fire hazards. Now let us understand the most important term which is fire load. So fire load is the amount of heat in kilocalories which is liberated per square meter of floor area of any compartment by the combustion of the contents of the building and any combustible part of the building itself. This amount of heat is used as the basis of grading of occupancies. The fire load is determined by multiplying the weight of all combustible material by their calorific value and dividing the floor area under the consideration. So here you can see fire load can be defined as or we can say fire load is equal to the weight of combustible material which multiply with the calorific value of material, and then it will divide by the floor area, right? For example, if a section of a building having an area of 80 square meter has 1200 kg of combustible material having a calorific value of 4000 kilocalorie per kg. So what will be the fire load? Simply put all the values in the equation and you will get the fire load, right? So that is how we can calculate fire load. Now, different materials having the same weight and the same calorific value may present different hazards on account of their other properties, such as rate of ignition, speed of burning, and liberation of dangerous fuel. So, materials are classified from purpose of assessing fire grading under the heading non-hazardous or the hazardous or the extra hazardous based on the following characteristics. So, here we can say the first one is the explosive tendencies, then high inflammability, then liability to intensify a fire, then generation of intense heat when burning, then liability to extend the fire zone, difficulty to extinguish, and we can say some of the spontaneous combustion tendencies, right? So these all are the different characteristics. Now let me give you idea about the grading of occupancies by the fire load. So here, based on Indian standard IS 1641-1960, grades the fire loads into the following three categories. It means the low fire load, moderate one, and the high one, where the values have different ranges for different occupancies. So let's talk about the low fire load, where the value is less than 2,75,000 kilocalorie per meter square, where the occupancies are like domestic buildings, hotels, boarding houses, restaurants, schools, hospitals, temples, mosques, commercial offices, factories, and workshop of non-hazardous nature. While I talk about the moderate fire load, here the range is about 2,75,000 to 5,50,000 kilocalorie per meter square, where the occupancies are like retail shop, emporium, bazaars, factories, and the workshop, right? And the last one is the high fire load. It means the range is between 5,50,000 kilocalorie per meter square to 11 lakh kilocalorie per meter square, where the occupancies are like godowns and similar buildings which are used for the bulk storage of non-hazardous materials as well as the goods. So these are the grading. Now let me give you idea about the grading of structural elements by the fire load. So the structural element of building are graded for fire resistance by the time for which they resist a standard fire of given time temperature grading. So the time temperature grading is based on observations in actual fires. So the relationship between the actual fire expressed as fire load and the standard fire is established by burning down weights the combustible material corresponding to the different classes of the fire loads, so as to match the time temperature grading of the standard fire, right? So from the table, it follows that the different grade of fire resisting structure elements will resist the corresponding fire loads as per IS 1641 to 1960. Here you can see the grade number, time in hour, and their fire load and classes of fire which the structural element can withstand. Thus, a structural element classified as of grade 4 will successfully withstand standard fire severity and comply with other conditions for an hour. If that structural element is incorporated in a building of which the fire load gives rise to a fire equivalent in severity in the test, then the structural element should resist the building fire without failure. This table is just for your reference, right? Now let us see some of the grading of buildings according to the fire resistance. So in grading building according to the fire resistance and structural precautions provided, it has been assumed that no assistance will be forthcoming from municipal fire brigade and that no firefighting apparatus has been provided or attached to that particular building. National Building Code of India divides building into the following four types according to the fire load and building is designed to resist. Here you can see one table where according to type the building type is mentioned. where type 1 construction having a fire resistant time of 4 hours, type 2 construction having a fire resistant time of 3 hours, type 3 of construction having a time of 2 hours, and lastly the type 4 having a time of 1 hour. Experience shows that with the firefighting equipment installed in the premises, the duration of fire in the building having a fire load between 5 lakh to 11 lakh kilocalorie per meter square, which is usually less than 3 hours. Hence, type 1 construction prescribed for this class of building generally ensures sufficient protection. However, in the building covered under type 1, proper ventilation and provision for escape of hot gases should be made. Also, when the firefighting equipment or the services of fire brigade are available in the premises, the design should provide for immediate access from several positions. The most satisfactory condition of a building is when it is constructed to resist a complete burnout of combustible contents without failure or collapse. Now, let me give you the idea about some of the characteristics of fire resisting materials. So here I can say the material should not disintegrate under the effect of great heat. The expansion of material due to the heat should not be such that it leads to instability of the structure of which it forms a part. The construction of the material due to sudden cooling with water after it has been heated to a high temperature should not be rapid. Now, let me give you idea about some of the general fire safety requirements for the buildings. So, in order to that, the fire hazard, which can be of personal, internal and exposure type, are minimized, where our IS code recommends that the building shall conform to the following some of the general requirements, where the first one says all buildings and particularly buildings having more than one story shall be provided with library design and safe fireproof exits or escapes. The second one says the exits shall be so placed that they are always immediately accessible and each is capable of taking all the persons on that floor as alternative escape routes may be, we can say, rendered or unusable or due to the fire. Third is the escape routes shall be well ventilated as persons using the escapes are likely to be overcome by smoke or some fumes which may enter from the fire. Fourth one says about door. It means fireproof doors shall conform rigidity to the fire safety requirements. Fifth one again which says for door that where fire resisting doors are employed as cutoffs or fire breaks, they shall be maintained in good working order so that they may be readily opened to allow quick escape of persons trapped in that section of the building, and also when necessary prompt rescue work can be expeditiously carried out. Next, sixth one is the electrical or we can say some of the mechanical lift. So while reliable under normal conditions may not always be relied on for escape purposes in the event of a fire, as the electrical supply to the building itself may be cut off or otherwise interrupted, or those relay on mechanical drive may not have the driving power available. Next is the seventh, lift shafts and the stairways, which are invariably served as fuels or tunnels, thus increasing the fire by increased draught in their design shall be such as to reduce or avoid this possibility and consequent spread of fire. Next is the false ceiling. It shall be constructed as to prevent either total or early collapse in the event of fire so that persons underneath are not fatally trapped before they have the time to reach to the exits. To a lesser extent, the provisions of this clause 8 above all shall apply to single story building. Whatever be the class or purpose of the building, the design and construction shall embody the fire retardant features for ceiling and some of the roofs. Next is the floors. So floors are required to withstand the effects of fire for the full period stated for the particular grading. The design and the construction of floors shall be of such a standard that stand up satisfactorily against collapse and suffer negligible damage, complete stripping down, and either total or major replacement. This consideration shall also be applied to the other elements of structure where necessary. The 11th one is the roof. So roof shall design and construction in such a way to withstand the effect of fire for the maximum period of the particular grading, and this requires concrete or equivalent construction. It is however important that the construction shall embody fire retardant features for roofs. 12th one is the basement, where the basement are necessary for the buildings and the basement are used for the storage. Provision shall be made for the escape of any heat arising due to the fire and for liberating and some smoke which may be caused. It is essential that the fire resistance of the basement shall conform to the highest order, and all columns from supporting the upper structure shall have a grading not less than laid down in type 1 to 3. Next is the smoke extraction from the basement. So there are some of the requirements that should be considered for this type, where first one says that unobstructed smoke extracts have direct communication with an open air shall be provided in or adjoining the external walls and in positions easily accessible for firemen in an emergency. Second one says the area of smoke extract shall be distributed as far as possible around the perimeter to encourage flow of smoke and gases where it is impracticable to provide a few large extracts. Third one says covers to the smoke extracts shall be constructed of light cast iron frame or some of other constructions which may be readily broken by firemen in the emergency, and they shall be suitably marked. Next says where they pass through the fire testing separations, smoke extraction shall be completely separated from other compartments in the building by enclosures of the appropriate grade of the fire resistance. Where these are sub-basements, the position of the smoke extracts from the sub-basement and basement shall be suitably indicates and distinguished on the external faces of the building. Now let me give you idea about some of the fire resistant construction. So in a fire resistant construction, the design should be such that the components can withstand the fire as an integral member of the structure for the desired period. So we shall consider the construction of the following components, where we can say the walls and columns, the floors and roof, wall openings, escape elements, and the strong room construction should be there. So let us understand all one by one. So here let me talk about the first one, walls and columns. The following point should be observed for making walls and column of fire resistant. It means masonry walls and columns should be made of thicker sections so that this can resist fire for a longer time and can also act as barrier against spread of for the adjoining areas. In the case of solid load bearing walls, bricks should be preferred to stones. If walls are to be made of stones, granite and limestone should be avoided. In the case of building with frame structure, RCC should be preferred to steel. If the framework of RCC where the thicker over should be used so that the members can resist fire for a longer time. It is recommended to use 40 to 50 mm cover for columns and 35 to 40 mm cover for beams and long span slabs, and we can say of 25 mm of short span slab should be there. So this is for this walls and columns. Now to continue or adding to this, we can say if steel is used for the frame structure, the steel structure component should be properly enclosed or embedded into concrete, terracotta, brick, gypsum, plasterboard or any suitable material as illustrated in the figure. Next, we can say the partition wall should be of fire resistance material. such as the RCC, reinforced brickwork, hollow concrete block, burnt clay tiles, reinforced glass, asbestos cement board or metal leads covered with some cement plaster. Cavity wall construction has better fire resistance. All walls, whether load bearing or non-load bearing, should be plastered with fire resistive mortar. Now let me give you idea about the second type, which is the floors and the roofs. It means we have to again follow some points which are not worthy for this kind of floors and roof. First one I can say, for better fire resistance, slab roof is preferred to sloping or the pitch roof. If it is essential to provide sloping roof, trusses should be either be of RCC or of protected rigid steel with a fireproof covering. For better fire resistance, the fire should be either of RCC or of hollow tile ribbed floor or of concrete jack arch floor with steel joist embedded in the concrete. If floor is made of timber, thicker joist at a greater spacing should be used and the fire stops or barriers should be provided at suitable interval. The flooring material like concrete tiles, ceramic tiles, brick, etc. are more suitable for fire resistance. If cast iron, wrought iron, cork carpet, rubber tiles, etc. are to be used, these should be protected by a covering of insulating material like some of the ceramic tiles, plaster, terracotta or the bricks. Ceilings directly suspended from floor joist should be of fire resistance material like asbestos cement board or some fiber boards or metal lead with the plaster. Now, let me give you idea about the wall openings. So, from the point of view of fire spread, opening in the wall should be a bare minimum. Opening serves means of escape. So, hence this should be properly protected by suitable arrangements in the case of fire. Doors and windows should be made of steel and the fire resistant doors can be obtained by fixing steel plates to both the sides of the door. Wire glass panels are preferred for windows. So, rolling shutter doors should be used for garages, godowns, shops, etc. In case of timber door, minimum thickness of door lip should be 4 cm and that of door frame is of 8 to 10 cm. All escape doors should be such as to provide free circulation to the persons in passages, lobbies, corridors or stairs, and it should be made of fireproofing material. Now, let me give you the idea about the fourth element, which is the escape element. So, all escape elements such as the staircase, corridors, lobbies, entrance, etc. should be constructed of fire-resistant materials. These escape elements should be well separated from the rest of the building. Doors to this escape should be fireproof and the staircases should be located next to the outer wall and should be accessible any floor in the direction of flow towards the exit from the building. Fireproof doors to the emergency staircases should be fixed in such a way as to make them close from inside. The lift shaft connecting various floors should be surrounded with the enclosure walls of fire-resisting materials. Lift shaft should be vented from top to permit escape of smoke and hot gases. An emergency ladder should be provided in the fire-resisting building and this ladder should be at least 90 cm wide, constructed of fire-resistant material, so that all the escape routes over roof should be protected with railings, balustrades or parapets not less than 1 meter in height. Now let me give you an idea about the fifth one, which is strong room construction. A strong room construction is found to be useful in case of safe deposit walls in the beds. Following are the important features of the construction. The walls, floors and the ceilings of a strong room are made of at least 30 cm thick cement concrete. If thin RCC walls are used, they should be have covering of bricks or terracotta and then suitably plastered with fire resistant plaster. Doors and windows are well encroached to concrete walls by large number of steel hold fast longer in the length. Doors and windows should be fireproof. It is preferable to have double fireproof doors. Windows and ventilators should be covered by special grills made of 20 mm steel square bars. These grills should be well fixed to concrete walls by means of long steel hold fast. Here you can see example of strong room construction. Now let me give you idea about some of the fire extinguishing equipments. Where the first one is the manual fire extinguishing equipment, then the fire hydrants, then the wet riser system, and the automatic sprinkler system. Let us understand the first one, manual fire extinguishing equipment. So these devices are useful for extinguishing fire as soon as it starts. They are not so useful when once the fire has spread. Under this category comes the portable extinguishers of carbon dioxide type or foam generation type. The discharge from a portable fire extinguisher lasts only for a short duration of 20 to 120 seconds. In some cases, especially in small buildings, buckets of water, sand and asbestos blankets may be kept ready at all the time to extinguish fire. These buckets are installed at convenient location for taking care of fire of minor size. Here you can see the example of it. Now let me talk about the second one, which is fire hydrants. So these fire hydrants are provided on a ring main of 150 mm diameter in the ground around the building periphery. So the ring main gets water from underground tank with pressure so that available pressure at each hydrant is of the order of about 3.5 to 4 kilogram per centimeter square as shown in this figure. Now let us talk about the third one, which is all about the water riser system. So here the system consists of providing 100 to 150 mm diameter vertical GI pipes at suitable location in the building. A fire pump is used to feed water from underground tank to these pipes to ensure a pressure of 3 kg per centimeter square at uppermost outlet as shown in this figure. Now let me talk about the fourth one, which is all about automatic sprinkler system. So this arrangement is adopted in important structures like textile mills and the paper mills. The system consists of a network of pipes 20 mm diameter fixed to the ceiling of a room, and these pipes are spaced at 3 meters center to center. Heat actuated sprinkler heads are fixed to these pipes at regular intervals, and the pipes get supply from a header. Each sprinkler head is provided with fusible plug. In the event of fire, the fusible plug in the nearest to the fire melts due to the rise of temperature and water gushes out of the sprinkler head. The fire is thus brought under control in a short period. Here you can see a clear idea that how this kind of sprinkler system is arranged in a particular building from this image. So these all are the four equipments which we use for the fire extinguishing work. With these, we have covered all the topics regarding the fire resistance. I hope you understand all the topics in detail. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next lecture.